Erika Kirk's carefully built image is collapsing fast. The woman who claims she never dated before meeting Charlie is now facing leaked photos, timelines that don't add up, and relationships she swore never existed. Some of these images may have been taken while she was married to Charlie, raising questions no one can ignore. Metadata, reality TV appearances, and public records are exposing a side of Erika the world hasn't seen before. Powerful connections and overlapping relationships suggest this might not be random. By the end of this video, you'll see why her public persona could be completely shattered. For years, Erika Kirk built a flawless image, the woman everyone thought was disciplined, pure, and completely devoted to faith and family. She told the world she had never dated before meeting Charlie, painting herself as this untouchable, godly figure. Every interview, every social media post, every public appearance reinforced that story. She wasn't just selling an image, she was creating a brand around honesty, morality, and devotion. But the cracks were always there, hidden behind smiles and carefully chosen words. People wanted to believe her story, and she made sure they did. She convinced everyone she was a woman who married the love of her life and devoted herself to his legacy. Yet beneath the surface, the reality of her life was far more complicated and far more explosive than anyone imagined. The question now is simple. If the foundation of her public image was false, what else might be false? And the evidence that's starting to surface doesn't just hint at lies, it screams them. Then came the leak. Alleged X-rated photos of Erika Kirk began circulating, and suddenly everything she had carefully curated was under attack. The images weren't just scandalous, they were explosive because of the timing. Some of them may have been taken while she was married to Charlie, a fact that could rewrite the story she told for years. People started asking the questions no one wanted to face. If she could present herself one way publicly, could she really have been honest in her marriage, her career, or her personal life? Every claim about discipline, faith, and purity suddenly felt fragile. Metadata, timestamps, and context from the images began to contradict the timeline Erika had shared, revealing a version of her life that didn't match her public persona. The shock wasn't just in the photos themselves, it was in what they suggested. Nights out, relationships, and choices she claimed never happened were suddenly impossible to ignore. The image of Erika as the untouchable, moral woman had begun to crumble, and the world was watching every piece of evidence surface. But that wasn't the whole story, because while these leaks shook her image, they also opened the door to a deeper, more complicated timeline, one that connected her past relationships, reality TV appearances, and social circles in ways that would soon expose far more than anyone expected. The leaked photos weren't the only problem. Metadata, timestamps, and timesharing began painting a picture that clashed with everything Erika claimed about her life. While she insisted she spent years untouched by dating or partying, the data told a different story. Nights out in New York, brunches, and social gatherings suggested she was living like any other young woman in the city, contradicting the disciplined, untouchable narrative she sold. Reality TV added another layer. Erika appeared on season 3 of Bravo's Summer House, filmed in August 2018, showing her drinking, socializing, and enjoying life. Fans watched her in bars, at parties, and in the Hamptons, proving that her story of avoiding the typical social scene simply didn't line up. Every clip, every appearance, chipped away at the facade she worked so hard to maintain. It wasn't just about fun and games. These glimpses into her personal life exposed inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored. Metadata, reality footage, and public sightings all pointed to a woman whose private life didn't match the saintly image she projected. And that's when people started digging deeper, looking at her past relationships she claimed never existed, because the real shock wasn't just her lifestyle, it was the connection she was hiding, the men she dated, and the timelines that suddenly didn't add up. And that's exactly where the next section begins. Erika's story of purity began to crumble when her past relationships came to light. One of the most notable was Tyler J.T. Massey, a pro baseball player she publicly dated before meeting Charlie. In interviews, Erika described him as her favorite human, her best friend, even her incredible boyfriend. Some fans even speculated they were engaged. Photos from engagement-style shoots surfaced shortly after Charlie's death, sending the internet into a frenzy. The timeline didn't add up. Erika claimed her life was quiet and disciplined, untouched by romance before Charlie, but evidence proved otherwise. Nights out, public appearances, and social media posts showed her actively dating, enjoying life, and building connections that directly contradicted her claims of abstinence and holiness. Then came the viral footage from a 2015 Trump rally. In one frame, Erika appears standing next to a man and a young girl, sparking speculation about who they were. Tyler Bower, the man who would later introduce her to Charlie, also appears nearby, linking her social and personal life in ways that made the narrative increasingly complex. Every relationship Erika tried to hide was now being examined under a microscope. Her past boyfriends weren't just dating history, they were keys to understanding how her carefully crafted image could be shattered, and why people began questioning not just her choices, but her honesty at every level. It wasn't just Erika's past relationships that raised eyebrows, it was how they overlapped with her career and social circles. Tyler Boer, a key figure at TPUSA, played a crucial role in introducing Erika to Charlie. What seemed like a professional connection quickly blurred into personal territory, raising questions about timing and motives. Meanwhile, Erika was still in a relationship with Cabot Phillips, a detail she never shared publicly. As timelines were pieced together, it became clear her pure story wasn't just slightly inaccurate, it was actively misleading. Photos and tweets showed Erika, Cabot, and Charlie moving in the same spaces, socializing and attending events together. Every claim about a clean break before Charlie now felt impossible to trust. Even casual details started fueling speculation. Public appearances, social media posts, and seemingly minor interactions revealed a tangled web of relationships and introductions. The overlap between her personal and professional life made it increasingly difficult to separate truth from narrative, leaving people questioning how much of Erika's story was authentic and how much had been carefully orchestrated. And while this tangled web was coming into focus, there was even a shocking layer: connections that reached beyond Erika herself, hinting at power, influence, and leverage that would make anyone's jaw drop. Then there's Cat Phillips, a name that keeps resurfacing whenever Erika's story is examined. On the surface, he's just another figure in her life, but the deeper you dig, the more complex it gets. Cat wasn't only close to Erika, he had ties to influential political circles, including connections through his father, Tim Phillips, a major Republican operative. Those connections weren't distant, they were central, powerful, and in some cases, controversial. At the same time, Erika was being introduced to Charlie through Tyler Boer. She was still in a relationship with Cabot Phillips, a detail she never shared publicly. Public tweets, photos, and social events confirmed it. The overlap between personal and professional relationships suddenly looked less coincidental. It raised uncomfortable questions. Did introductions happen naturally, or was influence at play? Was leverage already in motion long before the leaks surfaced? Even small details fueled speculation. Public appearances, social media posts, and subtle connections suggested that Erika's rise wasn't just about her image, it was intertwined with a network of political power and influence. And once you start connecting the dots, it becomes impossible to ignore the pattern. Relationships, timing, and opportunities that seemed random were anything but. This is where the story goes from scandalous to strategic. The timing of the leaks, the resurfacing of images, and the overlapping circles of influence suggest a narrative far bigger than Erika alone, one where reputation, leverage, and power collide. Once the leaks started circulating, the consequences were immediate. Inside TPUSA, whispers of emergency meetings and leadership restructuring began to surface. Emails, memos, and internal chatter suggested panic at the highest levels. Erika's position as CEO, one she had stepped into even before Charlie's body was cold, was suddenly precarious. It wasn't just about the photos themselves. In politics and organizations like TPUSA, perception often matters more than proof. The mere idea that images, timelines, and hidden relationships existed was enough to shake confidence in her leadership. Colleagues began distancing themselves, and supporters started questioning whether her image matched reality. Suddenly, a carefully controlled career became unstable. Months, if not years, of work to build credibility were threatened, not just by direct scandal alone, but by timing, optics, and connections that couldn't be ignored. The question was no longer if she would survive the controversy, it was whether the organization itself could weather the fallout. And while TPUSA struggled with internal chaos, attention was starting to shift to the people behind Erika, those who had influence over her rise and connections. Because in this story, she isn't the only one under scrutiny, and the deeper you look, the more unsettling the picture becomes. As attention shifted from Erika, Cat Phillips' name kept coming back into focus. His family background raised more questions than answers. Tim Phillips, his father, wasn't just a political figure, he had a controversial history, including abruptly stepping down from a major Republican organization under vaguely worded claims of personal impropriety. Details were scarce, and silence seemed intentional, leaving room for speculation. Even minor details now began fueling speculation. Social media posts, public appearances, and subtle connections suggested that Erika's rise wasn't just about her image, it was intertwined with a network of political power and influence. And once you start connecting the dots, it becomes impossible to ignore the pattern. Relationships, timing, and opportunities that seemed random were anything but. This is where the story goes from scandalous to strategic.